We're going to go down a rabbit hole today, guys. In this video, I'm going to share with you some evidence that we are seeing all over the internet that shows that the devil is operating in the worlds of business, healthcare, even the food that you eat. And the devil's intention is to destroy you. I got some good news. God has got a greater plan for you. We'll talk about that at the end of this video. So stay tuned. We got hope, absolutely. But first, we need to talk about what's really happening. If you're familiar with my channel, you know I talk about taking back media from the devil, exposing what the devil's doing in media, entertainment, even the world of politics. But you're going to be shocked to see how the devil's even got his teeth sunken into a lot of the things that you're buying on a daily basis. These companies telling you that these things are for your health and for your benefit, but could it be the exact opposite? We're going to talk about supplements today. We're going to talk about the companies that are poisoning us with a lot of the products that they're creating, and then also trying to promote, healthy standards in the background that aren't really all that healthy. We're going to talk about how the companies that we're buying from are actually supporting baby sacrifice, and then stick around to the end because something that you're going to see is very shocking about why we're seeing the uptick in autism around the country. Why is that happening? What might it be connected to? It's going to be a pretty powerful video today. So stick around. But without further ado, let's kick this off. Here's a video that's very interesting that exposes the supplements that you see in these grocery stores. These supplements are supposed to be healthy for you. Who has actually created these products? And what's the reputation of the companies that are creating these products? Check this out.
Surely Big Pharma doesn't own the whole supplements aisle, right? Right? Because if it's not obvious why Big Pharma owning supplement and vitamins brands is a little sketchy, think about it. Nature's Made, Otsuka Pharmaceutical, Mega Corporation. One a day? Bayer? You mean the bear that owns Monsanto? That? Centrum? Haleon, previously by Pfizer, GSK, all mega corporations.
By the way, the thing about Monsanto, that's the company that makes the poisonous herbicides that could literally kill you. So.
Ash. Oh yeah, the generic brand from Kroger, also a mega corporation. Move down the aisle, just a whole bunch more Nature's Made. What's this stuff up here? Ollie, acquired by Unilever. Trash. Down the aisle, we already did those guys. What's this? Vitafusion, Church and Dwight, mega corporation. What's all this? Nature's Bounty, Nestle. Might as well cover.
Nestle is the company that makes chocolate, by the way. This is the company that's making candy. And now they're also making supplements to make you healthy.
Vicks, Procter & Gamble, Helen of Troy, mega corporation. All right, what's all this? Nature's Way? Why are they all called Nature? Come on, more like Big Pharma's way.
You know why they're called Nature's Way? Because it's marketing. They want you just by the name, oh, it's natural. It's all natural. It's all natural flavors. So it's like the same marketing tool they use for every single product. They're trying to communicate to us with vague language so that we think, okay, this stuff is perfectly fine for us. This stuff is perfectly healthy.
Now, Nature's Way was fucking squirrely. They would not give up the dirt on who owns, and I looked. Must have had like 20 tabs open looking just for who the hell owns Nature's Way, and that is sketchy. But you can lie all you want on Google about who owns you. You can hide that, but you know where you can't hide who owns?
I wish we could find out who actually owns that company. But regardless, the news, here's what's going to not be very surprising to you after watching that. There's an illusion of choice. What you see is you actually only have a few corporations that have bought up everything. You have Procter & Gamble, they've bought up almost everything. Unilever bought up almost everything. You have Nestle, then you have things like Johnson & Johnson who have bought up almost everything. So what's so wild is let's talk about Johnson & Johnson, for example. Johnson & Johnson is this, it's this company. It's actually one of the companies that created those mandatory injections that ended up having all these sorts of side effects in the year 2020. You remember what happened back then? This company has been sued for all sorts of different things in the past. And what's amazing is we continue to buy their products. We don't realize that we're actually buying these people's products on a daily basis. Companies like Johnson & Johnson, by the way, are also some of the lead funders of Planned Parenthood. Yes, these companies that are promoting healthcare are actually some of the biggest donors to baby deletion in the country. And whether we realize it or not, we're buying from these companies on a day-to-day basis. Here's what I want to tell you. We need to be more educated as consumers in the culture today, in my opinion. If we really want to fight this massive battle. These companies that are literally incentivized to keep people sick, by the way. Like if you're running a business, you're going to run out of customers, especially if you're in healthcare. If people just get better, if people are actually healthy, your business model, it goes down the floor because your business model is selling products to help solve a problem for people. If the problem's solved, you have no more products to sell. And then the irony of us buying from these companies and they're actually funding some of those demonic agendas across the planet. So it's pretty wild. I'll give you a solution though. If you're in a place where you're thinking, okay, how do I stop buying these products, these like, whether it's supplements or cleaning supplies, how do I stop buying from these companies that are literally creating poisonous products and then all of a sudden on the other side of the grocery store are creating quote unquote healthy products? How can I stop shopping those items? Well, I have a solution for you. If you go to switchwithcap.com, this is a project that me and my team have been developing to sell made in America manufactured products that are eco-friendly, that are not owned by these big mega corporations, that actually promote conservative values. Isn't that amazing? Instead of promoting baby deletion, you can actually promote values that you agree with, biblical values, conservative values, and you could even save money while you do it. What does this look like? We want to help you switch your shopping from these products, these companies that you buy from every single month. You can buy better products, even more affordably, and you can buy made in America manufactured goods. We want to help you make that switch. To learn about how to make that switch, go to switchwithcap.com, schedule a brief call with my team just so that our team can educate you on how to make that switch, how to possibly save money. And our team would also love to pray for you on the call. So please go to Switch with Cap, link in the comments and link in the description. But I want to keep going because this stuff gets even crazier, in my opinion. This episode of the Tucker Carlson podcast, I recommend go listen to this episode. This is probably one of their most explosive episodes that they've done. And what they're exposing in this episode is the depth of how big pharma and the food industry does not have Americans' best interests in mind. And the more you know, the more you can protect yourself and your family. But listen to this clip. This clip really shocked me in particular.
It's pretty sinister. I mean, you look at the American Academy of Pediatrics and like, who are their main funders? Mead Johnson, who makes formula, the company that makes influenza vaccines, Abbott Nutrition, which makes formula. These people are funding the organization that cherry picks the research to make our pediatric guidelines. Okay, so there's hundreds of thousands of papers that are published every year about the importance of nutrition and exercise and sleep and avoiding pesticides and avoiding plastics in our foods. Just tens of thousands of papers every single year. But what goes into the guidelines, which are created by professional organizations like the American Diabetes Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, who are funded by things like processed food companies, pharmaceutical companies, and then, of course, in the case of the ADA, people like Coca-Cola and Cadbury. So, people will always say
Cadbury, the chocolate
company, has
funded
millions for the American Diabetes Association.
No,
so
come on.
Absolutely.
So listen to what they're saying. These companies are actually funding the creation of these guidelines to tell us what's healthy and what's not healthy. What does that mean? It means, so let's say you have Cadbury, you have a chocolate company. And obviously, chocolate is probably not going to help people who are pre-diabetic or have diabetes because it's just a ton of sugar. It's junk food. It's not going to help you. But companies like them are actually funding the creation of these health guidelines to tell us what is healthy to eat and what's not healthy to eat. Do you think that their prognosis, their hypothesis about what is healthy, do you think that it could possibly be biased? Do you think it could be biased? You're going to see an analogy that they make here, which makes the point even better.
This is just
I just want to say, because I don't want to ever sound judgy or pretend that I have good eating habits, because demonstrably I don't. They make great chocolate bars. Sure. They're awesome. But
they shouldn't be probably influencing our diabetes guidelines, right? I mean,
is that real? You're sure that's true?
I am certain that is true. We could all.
And Anheuser-Busch shouldn't be funding, Alcoholics Anonymous. It's just like these companies should exist.
But we follow this.
Anheuser-Busch should be funding Alcoholics Anonymous and giving guidelines for alcoholics.
Cadbury.
Cult of evidence-based medicine, right? Which is that we follow the guidelines, but the guidelines cherry pick research from the canon of scientific literature that's out there, which is why when I was in medical school, there were just huge swaths of the science that I wasn't seeing.
But so can I just ask you?
So they cherry pick the information. So there's all these studies show what's actually healthy. Like you could go and look at the actual studies. It's there. Like it's not even that complicated if you think about it. It's kind of common sense. But what these companies are doing is they're cherry picking certain information and creating their own spin on the narrative to tell you what's true. Do you remember the days like when they had the food pyramid and they would show this in public schools? This is when I was growing up. And at the bottom of the food pyramid was grains. And it was like, eat as many grains as possible. You got to eat bread. You got to eat cereal. That's your most important thing. Well, first of all, that is the most processed food you can eat. It's like that food is going straight to the bottom line of these companies that are literally making this food. Like they make this. This is a man-made product. Of course they want to see more of that. They're going to make a lot more money if we eat that sort of stuff. And to me, maybe it's no wonder that we have so many people that have gluten allergies today is because we've completely poisoned ourselves by following these guidelines. I'm not a doctor. This isn't medical advice. It's just an observation. I want to spark a conversation with you. Very interesting information, though. Let me know what you think in the comments if you have any thoughts on this.
Very fundamental question. Why would we follow the guidelines rather than the outcomes?
It's a great question.
So you just said 5 minutes ago, you were outlining this terrifying and sad and catastrophic series of stats describing the total collapse of public health in the United States. And so who cares what the guidelines are? Doesn't anyone just sort of zoom out for a second and be like, all these kids have diabetes, which leads to dementia. Like this is not working.
Right.
Did no one say that?
Well, the question, it's not working is the question I would basically put in front of every doctor in America. Like if you're not looking around you and just scratching your head and saying, what the hell is going on? Then you are profiting off of this crisis, and I want the most dangerous thing you can do in America right now, obviously, is ask the question, why? So
that's where we're at right now. I want to ask more why questions. I want to get to the bottom of this, but I love what he said. Like, why aren't we looking at the outcomes? Like we have never been this sick, this physically sick as a nation ever. And the people, by the way, no judgment, just observable phenomenon. The person who is the Secretary of Health of the United States at this point in time is literally this person. Let me pull it up. Excuse me, Assistant Secretary. The Assistant Secretary for Health and head of the United States Public Health Service Commission Corps is Admiral Rachel L. LaVine, medical doctor. Just so you know, this is a biological male. This is a male who thinks that he's a female, and this person is helping give direction to the United States of America of what are the standards for health. I'm not trying to be judgmental here, but the Bible does say that you will know a tree by its fruits. And if this is the person that's championing health in our country, I think we should ask ourselves, could it be that there's a better way? Could it be that God might actually have a better plan for our health than an individual that doesn't know if he is a he or a she? God bless him. I pray that God gets a hold of his heart and shows him that there's more for him. But I don't know, man. It just seems foolish to me to allow people like this for us to not trust the power of the Holy Spirit and our own discernment about what is true and what's right for all of us. I want to share with you this final clip. Robert F. Kennedy explaining why we're seeing the uptick in autism like we're seeing all over the country right now. And he makes some interesting statements about how when he was growing up, he didn't know anybody with autism. He didn't know anybody with allergies to like peanuts and things like that. But it seems like it's more of the norm than not these days.
So, there's a number of things that happened in 1989. But it's those diseases, all these autoimmune diseases suddenly appeared. I never knew anybody with juvenile diabetes. When I was a kid, a typical pediatrician would see one case of juvenile diabetes in his career. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door has it. Something happened. Why isn't anybody talking about this? Rheumatoid arthritis suddenly exploded. Lupus, all these autoimmune diseases, Crohn's disease, these exotic diseases, nobody ever heard of when I was a kid. Now they're everywhere. And so you have allergic diseases, you have neurological disease and autoimmune diseases, and obesity suddenly appear around 1989. And so there's a number of things that could be blamed for it. Well, the CDC thought it may be the vaccine schedule. Let's check. So they looked at one vaccine, which is the hepatitis B vaccine. They looked at kids who had gotten it in the first 30 days, and then they looked at kids who had not gotten it in 30 days. In other words, kids who got it later or didn't get it at all. And they compared these two groups. And among the kids who got it in the first 30 days, there was I think it was a 10,000% increased risk.
10,000%.
For a later subsequent autism diagnosis if you got in the first 30 days.
Wow.
So they immediately knew what was causing it.
Holy moly.
I know it was 11.35, so it's 1,135% increased risk. And
jeez.
And so they knew immediately, it's called a relative risk of 11.35. If you have a relative risk of 2, causation is presumed. This was 11.35.
11.2%. Is that what it was? I want to pull that up one more time. Wow.
So they immediately 1,135% increased risk.
1,135% increased risk.
So they knew immediately, it's called a relative risk of 11.35. If you have a relative risk of 2, causation is presumed. This was 11.3.
A relative risk of 2. I thought he said 11.2 of 2.
35.
So it's 5 times more, almost 6.
Smoking a pack of cigarettes a day for 20 years and getting lung cancer is a relative risk of 10. This was 11.35. So they knew what it was. And then they had an emergency meeting that they called. They didn't want to do it on CDC campus because they thought it would be susceptible to freedom of information requests. So they did it in this remote retreat center called Simpsonwood, which is a Methodist retreat center on the wooded banks of the Chattahoochee River in a remote part of Georgia. And they had all of the big pangerums from the vaccine industry, from the pharmaceutical industry, from the universities, who are the ones who test the vaccines, from NIH, CDC, FDA, the World Health Organization, the European Medicals Agency, and they all got together for 2 days to talk about this study. The first day, and somebody made a transcript of it. And that transcript was given to me. And I published excerpts from it. But the first day, they're all talking about, oh my God, the lawyers are going to come after us. Nobody can deny this. This is bulletproof. There's no way to argue with this. This is real science. We can't, what are we going to do? The second day, they spent talking about how to hide it from the American public. And I published these things. Oh, then, I took a lot of heat at that point. But
That's it. That is insane. That is insane. If you have kids or you're about to have kids and you're wondering about whether or not you should give them some of these injections or whatever, I would encourage you to do some research. I'm not telling you what to do. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I would tell you, nobody knows what's right for you and for your family better. First of all, better than God, and then second, better than you. Don't put your livelihood and your health blindly in the hands of these experts. The book Jeremiah chapter 17 says, "Trusting in man is a snare, but trusting in the Lord brings security." I want to give you one more scripture though, because this is something you got to understand about God's heart for you. 3 John chapter 1, verse 2, one of my favorite scriptures. It says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers." God has a plan for your physical health. God cares about your physical health more than these doctors do. God cares about your physical health more than these big food companies do or these big pharma companies do. God cares. God cares. I believe that what God is trying to do in this generation, he's trying to wake us up to the slumber that we've been in, because truly the devil has been working in the details, and God's people have been destroyed for a lack of knowledge, for a lack of information about this sort of stuff. But I'm telling you, God is bringing an awakening to his people in these days. God wants to bring an awakening to you. He wants you to prosper in every area of your life, including your health, just as your soul prospers. But I believe that we need to stop putting our trust blindly in the hands of these people. We need to return back to God in prayer. We need to return back to God in his word, and we need to return back to God in his ways. And if we follow God according to his spirit and his word, I'm telling you, God will correct a lot of things in your life. And I believe God will even bring healing to you and to your family. That's God's will. We see it all through the scriptures that God is a healer of his people. But will you trust him more than you trust these systems at play? If you want to learn how to come back into relationship with God, if this is kind of getting you freaked out, let me tell you, don't be freaked out to the place of no hope. God wants to give you hope, but you need to return back to him. And I have another video at the end of this one that you need to watch to know what it takes to come back into relationship with God. And also, again, just as a final reminder, if you want to stop, buying your products from these companies that are openly poisoning people, so it seems, so they've been accused of, and so they've been charged for in many lawsuits, and also buying from these companies that are funding abortions and things like that, you want to start buying made in America manufactured goods that are high quality and also promote conservative values. You can do that by going to switchwithcap.com to schedule a call with my team to learn more. Link in the description, link in the comments. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, and subscribe if you want to help me take back media from the devil and reveal the glory of God on every glowing screen. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.